Good morning, James Preston with you on Kalkine TV, live from Sydney, and you're watching the Global Markets Roundup. Let's dive into some key highlights and happenings from yesterday, starting with the US market. World stock indexes retreated from record highs on Tuesday as a solid rise in producer prices last month deepened concerns over inflation, while US Treasury yields edged lower. MSCI's gauge of stocks across the globe shed 0.28% after reaching less than a point away from uncharted highs earlier in the session. Benchmark US indices closed in the red on Tuesday, November 9, after strong rallies in recent days, dragged down by new economic data that confirmed inflation remained worryingly high. The S&P 500 was down by 0.35%, and the Dow Jones fell by 0.31%, while the Nasdaq Composite fell by 0.6%. The small cap Russell 2000 was also down by 0.69%. The producer price index surged by 0.6% in October following an increase of 0.5% in the prior month, according to the Labor Department in a release on Tuesday. The index soared 8.6% in 1 year through October, and the PPI spike indicated that the economy continues to face inflationary pressures. Traders will now eagerly wait for the consumer price index data, which is due today. It's expected to shed light on how supply chain disruptions might have affected the prices of goods. Consumer staples and utility stocks were the top gainers on the S&P 500 index. Consumer discretionary and financial stocks also retreated though, and 5 of the index's 11 segments stayed in the green. All right, time now for a very short break before we take a look at both the UK and Aussie markets. Hi there, James Preston for Kalkine TV. Are you into gaming and virtual reality? Does AI and the endless possibilities it entails capture your interest? Or are you constantly trawling through the web to try and discover the latest updates and innovations in the tech space? Well, let us do the work for you. From the latest product launches to shocking affairs on the World Wide Web, exclusive interviews and information about the top companies like Apple and Google to brand new tech startups vying for your attention. Kalkine's Tech Beat has the latest in what matters in the world of technology. Join me every single Thursday on The Tech Beat, exclusive to Kalkine TV. Welcome back to Kalkine TV. I'm James Preston and you're watching the Global Markets Roundup show live from Sydney. European shares retreated from record highs on Tuesday, although strong corporate earnings and hopes of a recovery kept losses limited as investors awaited fresh cues from economic data due this week. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 closed by 0.2% lower at 482.71 points, holding just below its record peak that was hit last week. London equities wobbled during the session on Tuesday, with the benchmark FTSE 100 tiptoeing near the psychological level of 7,300. The index slipped into the negative territory after the Dow futures indicated a flat to moderately lower opening on Wall Street. The headline FTSE 100 moved by 0.11% higher, while the mid-cap heavy FTSE 250 added 0.06%. Japanese shares also pulled back from midday gains to end lower on Tuesday, hurt by a stronger yen and some discouraging earnings, although a standout performance in tech stocks led by SoftBank Group Limited some of the losses. The Nikkei closed 0.75% lower after rising as much as 0.82% earlier in the session, and the broader topics slipped by 0.81%. China's blue chip stocks ended flat on Tuesday after China's central bank introduced a new lending tool, but analysts said it doesn't have strong easing implications. The blue chip CSI 300 index closed unchanged, while the Shanghai Composite Index gained 0.2%. South Korean shares ended flat on Tuesday, despite record closing highs on Wall Street, as traders stayed cautious ahead of the inflation data from the United States. The benchmark Kospi closed up by 0.08%, snapping 2 straight sessions of declines. It also slid 0.31% on Monday. Australian shares are trading higher today. The S&P ASX 200 is up, gaining 9 points or 0.12% to 7,443.2, an improvement from the ASX 200 fall of 0.24% yesterday. A number of ASX-listed companies, including Beach Energy, Clinuvel Pharmaceuticals, Coles Group and Newcrest Mining, are all scheduled to hold their annual general meetings today. The dollar index also slipped 0.93%, while the euro gained up 0.05%. And the Australian and New Zealand dollars were slightly lower on Tuesday, dragged down by lower commodity prices as inflation numbers in the two largest economies present the next test of traders' thinking on the outlook for interest rates. And the Aussie dollar was 0.25% lower at 74 US cents, even as businesses reported a sharp rebound in sales and profits in October, with most coronavirus restrictions being lifted and liberated consumers looking to spend big on travel and entertainment in the coming weeks. Oil prices are also on the rise after the lifting of a US travel ban. Brent futures rose 1.6% to settle at $84.78 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude surged 2.7% to trade at $84.15 a barrel. Gold prices have also surged to their highest level since early September on the back of a softer dollar ahead of US inflation data. Spot gold added 0.4% to trade at $1,830.67 an ounce. Also, the most traded Dalian iron ore for January delivery fell 1%, trading near a 12-month low. On the other hand, the most active December contract on the Singapore exchange dropped 2.1%. All right, well, that's all for now. Stay tuned to Kalkine TV for the latest market updates, business news, and exclusive interviews. I'm James Preston, signing off for now.